I'm here in Mill Hill, and today we're going to be doing a part 2 mock, and I'm here with
Oliver,
who's come all the way from
Sheffield
this morning.
4.5 hours down the M1. Roadworks nearly all the way.
You're looking very dapper, sir.
You've got your driving licence with you?
Yeah, that's you. Can you read the number plate on that white car up there?
Audio's awful, but trust me, he read it.
And then if you could just identify where the engine oil goes, and how would you check it?
And again, being his car, he smashed it.
It's quite a long way to come from Sheffield, isn't it? Why have you come all this way? I mean, obviously to do a part 2 mock.
I passed my driving test 45 years ago in Rhodesia, which is now Zimbabwe. I exchanged my Rhodesian driver's license for a British one. I've never taken a test in this country. I've never had anyone tell me whether my driving is good English or mad Swedish or anything. So I want to have someone like you look over my driving and tell me what I need to improve.
You've told me this off camera, you've done no training.
I have done no training at all. Obviously I've been watching all the training videos, and I've got my MSPS ladders all sorted out. So,
the thing is, right now there's such a wealth of information on the internet, isn't there? We're going to be doing a part 2 mock driving test today, which is one of the tests that you need to do or need to pass in order to become a driving instructor. There are 3 parts if you're new to the channel. The part 1 is your theory, part 2 is the driving test, and the part 3 is the instructor abilities test. And today is a part 2. Is there anything in your driving that you feel now, having watched content, or because you haven't had any training yet, is there anything in your driving that you think you're not quite there on, or is there anything that you're concerned about, or is there anything that...
I think I've got it down pat. It's just a question of over that length of time you get out of the good habits. I'm looking on this as a test of my driving abilities to see whether it's worth me continuing being an ADI, training to be an ADI.
Okay, I wouldn't judge myself on that basis to that level, having done no training. Okay, I mean, obviously, if you really can't drive, then that would be a problem, wouldn't it?
It would. But I think I'm going to be okay. I don't expect to pass today because,
For me, in this job, it comes down to the right mindset. If you have the right mindset, then you'll get through it. Does your seat go down? No, it doesn't.
I'm afraid.
Oh, the other thing you'll notice is I'm not in my car. We are doing this in Oliver's car.
Yes.
Are you aware of what a part 2 test involves?
Yes.
Okay, so today we're going to be driving for about an hour, okay? At all times, follow the road ahead unless I tell you to turn left or turn right, unless the road signs indicate. Otherwise, if I need you to turn, I'll tell you in good time. We're going to take in 2 reversing manoeuvres, possibly an emergency stop. On this particular test, we're going to be doing some independent driving for about approximately 20 minutes.
Yep.
Okay?
Yep.
If you're not sure where you're going at any time, you can ask. Tell me how you would adjust your head restraint to give you the best protection in the event of a crash.
The top of the head restraint should be above the level of your ears, so that should you be around from behind, you're not going to get whiplash. Okay,
well that will do. And how would you know how would you check that your directional indicators were working properly?
Well,
no need to show me. You just tell me.
Well, when starting up, check the indicators, check the hazard warning lights, as long as both are flashing.
Okay. And then walk around the car. That's it. Those are the show me, tell me questions. Okay, just like always, like, comment and subscribe, because it really does boost the video and pushes it out to a wider audience. And if you like it, that's great. And if you want to stick around and subscribe, that'd be great too. If you are interested in doing a mock test, whether you're a learner driver or a PDI on the channel, then I'll put my Instagram down here. Follow me, send me a DM, and then we can talk about it. If you are an experienced driver that just wants to driving assessed, and you think that would make a really good video, and you think you could bring value to that, then send me a DM as well. When we see you next, we'll be starting this thing. Do you have any questions before we start?
Are we going to go around that horrible bloody roundabout?
Possibly. So whenever you are ready, drive on.
Beginning of tests are stressful. Oliver's view is slightly blocked here. He does a good all-round check, but really neglects the front. And as he goes to move away, a car's coming. His observations were a bit haphazard, and that's probably why he missed it. Then, as he goes to move away Again, another vehicle comes, which he can do nothing about. He sticks it in reverse, doesn't look around the car, and reverses back into the space we just left.
Busy little road, this. Excuse me, I'm going to back in here again. Let's go through here.
This is an extra reverse, but not looking around demonstrates a big weakness. Not the best start, but maybe expected from someone who hasn't done any training.
I bet you know half of the people around here, the driving instructors.
Some of them, not all of them. At the end of the road here, turn left for me, please.
For anyone that's new to the channel, this is not a normal camera setup, and my back camera, for whatever reason, looks slightly drunk, so I think I'm going to have to switch it off. But I will bring it back when needed. As we said in the intro, Oliver hasn't done any training, and what generally tends to go wrong are the basics, and that's exactly what's on show today.
At the roundabout, turn right for me, please.
On the approach to this roundabout, his mirrors are a little mistimed, and then he goes to enter a little bit early, pushing up on a motorbike that's already in the junction. His view is slightly obscured to the right, and he doesn't adjust speed properly, and then the motorbike appears. It all works out, but it's just not quite right. So this is a driver fault for observation at junctions.
And then I'm going to get you to take this next road on the left into the car park.
Next up is the Bay Park, and again he makes a mistake with his observation. His main issue is he just does things a little bit too quickly, and it doesn't give him enough time to remember to check.
Now I have to apologise for the lines in this car park because they're pretty bad. But if we can find somewhere, anywhere you like, to do a reverse Bay Park. It's quite busy today.
It is. There's a couple of easy spots here, look.
I do like how efficient he is, he's just not checking his blind spots. And throughout this manoeuvre, he doesn't check his right blind spot once. And when he's finished, he swings the door open before he secures the vehicle to have a look. This is not quite right. He only just about barely stops the car. This may or may not be a fault on your real test, but I didn't like it.
Good. Happy with that?
Well, I haven't had a look at the lines out that side, but...
You done?
I think so,
Yes.
Even though he is in the bay, he's right on the line.
Okay, that'll do. So whenever you are ready...
With the hedge behind us, he now does a full all-round check before moving away. Just a shame he missed that when he was doing the reverse. And we make our way to the exit of the car park.
I've always wanted one of those.
Have you?
Unimog.
One of those... What is that?
It's a Unimog, a modern one. I always fancied the 60s models of the Unimog.
I don't even know what a Unimog is. If you follow the road round to the right here, and at the end of the road turn left.
It's a German truck made by Mercedes.
He's a little bit distracted. A learner driver takes up a little bit too much of the road and he's a bit slow to react. He then forgets where we're going.
Sorry, which way am I?
Sorry, turning left.
The signal is obviously late, but it has no impact on anybody, and I don't think in this case it's a problem. At the next roundabout, he just rushes it.
And then we're going to follow the road ahead on this roundabout.
Okay.
This roundabout is a closed junction and only opens up at the last second. If something had been coming, that would have been a problem. Even though he gets away with it, that would have escalated to a serious straight away.
And then at the roundabout, turn left, please.
At this one, he has a much clearer view, but he takes his time, and this is really how he should have done the last one. A little further up the road, we're starting the independent drive.
That will do. That will do. Okay, so we're now going to be following the sat nav.
Okay.
For approximately 20 minutes.
Yep. Let's go.
Let's go. Can you see that? Is that all good?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oliver again rushes his move off and checks his blind spot as he's already moving. He doesn't signal, and there's an oncoming vehicle.
I should have indicated.
Arrive at your destination at 12:11 p.m.
That's one of the silly little habits that I need to get into again. Well, not a silly habit, obviously. But,
I've already given him a series for moving away, but just for the video, I'll continue to give the faults.
Then cross the roundabout and take the second exit.
On a real test, the examiner wouldn't continue to mark them.
Cross the roundabout and take the second exit.
At this roundabout, he chooses the middle lane to follow the road ahead, which he can do.
Cross the roundabout and take the second exit.
But after he enters the roundabout, right at the last second, he changes lanes to the left. He doesn't interfere with anybody, but this just demonstrates a little bit of poor planning, and it wasn't necessary. He then applies his signal and then exits the roundabout well. A little bit further up the road, he gets a bit confused about where we're going and then slightly rushes a junction.
After 300 yards, turn left, then bear left.
Wobbly rear view incoming. There is a vehicle behind and there's minimal impact, but it does show the importance of actually looking at the sat nav.
is it this one? No.
Oh,
Sorry.
no. I think it's the end of the road.
Turn left, then bear left.
The van did attempt to go round.
Bear left, then turn right.
He's then a bit quick with his observation.
Then if you just pull up on the left, just before that red car for me, please.
Yep.
And again, when he goes to move away, he doesn't check his right blind spot, which again wouldn't be marked as it's been marked
At the
already.
end of the road, turn right.
In this instance, don't worry too much about driveway. There you go, a little bit closer. That'll do. That's perfect. Thank you. All right, drive on when you're ready.
Nobody to indicate this occasion.
But again, just for this video, I'll mark it as a driver fault for move away safely. A little further up the road, he's just driving a little bit fast for the speed limit and sustains it for a bit too long. He does bring the speed back down, but he was pushing 33, 34 miles an hour along this stretch. And then adversely, when he enters the 40 zone, he doesn't notice the speed limit change and is only driving 30 for the whole way. But before we get to that, he does respond nicely to a pedestrian on the pavement.
After 300 yards, turn right.
It was tight with the oncoming cars and he reduced speed nicely. We're entering the 40 zone here.
So you lived in Australia?
No, not officially. I used to spend 6 months of the year down there for the past 10 years. My parents lived down there. And are getting very old. Or my father's already dead, my mother's getting very old. So I go down there to care for them.
It is possible for something like this to even be put down as a serious, but today I'm just going to mark it as a driver fault. We are chatting, so that could have added to his
I've
distraction.
not been to Australia either.
It's all on the east coast. Do you know where Sydney is, roughly?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, well, Brisbane is 1,000 miles north of that on the coast.
And as there's no one behind, he's not affecting anyone else.
1,000 miles.
Next up are the show me tell me questions on the move.
40, then 30.
And then when it's just safe to do so, if you could just clean this front windscreen using the windscreen wiper and washers. That'll do, thank you very much.
Turn left.
And then when it's safe to do so, if you could just open a side window for me, please. That'll do.
Both done without a hitch. Next up, we're attempting the emergency stop, but there's a small complication. But before we get to that, a learner driver pulls out, and it pulls out slightly in front of him.
After 300 yards, turn left.
And then his following distance is a little bit close. He's now just about within the 2 seconds, and as he takes the turn, he closes the gap. This can make a learner driver feel quite uncomfortable, and we shouldn't really be this close. A couple of bends later, we're attempting the emergency stop.
Okay, so we're going to try and do the emergency stop exercise.
Okay. I should have informed my insurance company actually, because I've got one of those little gadgets that'll register an emergency stop.
Oh, will it? Oh, what is that, like a little black box or something?
Yeah, one of these how am I driving things for the insurance. Knocks a chunk off your...
So in which case, we won't do the emergency stop, because I don't want them to do that to you.
I meant to inform them that I was going to do this today, but I haven't, I'm afraid.
No, well, I would strongly advise you that if you do part 2, you make sure you do inform them that you might be performing an emergency stop on that day, because the examiner, you can't. Yes?
Yeah.
Okay, but for today, we'll just...
Okay. But yes, I know about the emergency stops. I've had to perform a few in my time.
Yeah, it's just a question of seeing it, that's all. Okay, but anyway, that's fine, we'll just leave that for now.
Yep.
All right, so drive on when you're ready, please. And when that finishes, which is just about to finish, it's probably about 100 yards of it, if that, I'll be directing you as normal.
Okay.
Okay.
We tried. Again, he moves away without checking his right blind spot properly.
After 100 yards, you have reached your destination on your left. You have reached your destination on your left.
Oh.
We're now starting the progress drive section of this test, and overall on this country lane in inverted commas, he does well. Throughout this drive, his mirror work has been a little bit sporadic, especially mirrors for signal, but I've not really faulted it. But he does check mirrors for slowdown approaching a chicane.
Poor Clare Monastery. How can it be a monastery?
What's that, sorry?
The Poor Clare Monastery. How can it be a monastery if it's got nuns?
He makes a good point, but I'm not quite sure where this came from.
Might be both.
You couldn't have that. Men and women living together?
Who'd have thought it? He's balancing his speed well as he's approaching these bends, and he's aware of if there's anything coming up behind. He does get slightly surprised by a vehicle turning right, though, ahead of him just around the bend. But his speed meant that it wasn't a major issue. He's now about to enter the dual carriageway heading back down to Mill Hill, and he stops a little bit close to the vehicle in front. This could go down as clearance, and as it's a mock test, it is today. Overall, he does well on the dual carriageway. There's just one element of slight poor planning which affects his lane discipline. It's not 100% his fault. There's a van driver sitting in a lay-by with his door open. This makes Oliver jump, but instead of reducing speed, he moves to the right, which slightly interferes with this vehicle that's just come past. I didn't feel that it was enough to warrant a serious, but it was pretty close. This is a driver fault for lane discipline.
And then at the roundabout, you're going to be following the road ahead for me again. Second exit.
Oliver doesn't know the area, so he again chooses the middle lane to follow the road ahead. And at this roundabout, that is not a problem at all.
Oh yeah, how much is it going to cost me to drive around London today?
To drive around London?
Yeah, in the
the ULEZ.
ULEZ zones.
This is a petrol, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is it Euro 4?
Sorry?
Euro 4?
He again gets close to the vehicle in front.
That's the emissions compliance, I think.
To be honest, I don't know.
If you were a diesel, then you would have had to have paid. I would check it. Did you not have a look at that before coming down?
Yeah, I actually registered with whoever it is you have to register in anticipation of having to pay.
He's in the middle lane and he should either be moving back to the left or going for the overtake, but he's approaching speed limit, so the overtake becomes tricky. Now that he's come round the bend, there is a bus that's become visible in the left-hand lane and he is catching it up. Once he gets past, he does move over. He's turning left at the next roundabout and then he's turning right third exit at the Mill Hill Circus. This roundabout is tricky, and as he comes round, he's faced with a decision. He can't see it from here, but the traffic is built up in the middle lane, and this lane doesn't lead him to his exit.
Okay. I got the wrong lane there.
He makes the right choice by going round again.
That one was designed to catch me out.
It's this horrible roundabout. The one we discussed.
Yeah.
This time, even though the traffic is built up, he does manage to get in behind. I mean, on a roundabout like this, what else are you supposed to do? He also gets a bit lucky with this vehicle moving away and creating space. But even if it hadn't, I wouldn't have blamed him for holding back. Again, he gets close to the vehicle in front, but this time he's just trying to tuck in.
Built horribly.
Made a pig's ear of it this time, though.
He then exits safely.
Yeah, lots of people doing that.
Through the high street, he again ends up pushing up close to the vehicle in front.
That is a dreadful one.
It is a horrible roundabout.
But the rest is pretty uneventful. We're now going to move forwards to the parallel park.
Okay, so we're just going to perform the reverse parallel park using that van there. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Pull up next to it and then reverse the car back in, finishing off within 2 car lengths, reasonably close to and parallel to the curb. Yes? Do you understand the 2 car lengths?
Yes.
Okay, so no more than 1 space between you, just to clarify. Okay.
Just like the previous manoeuvre, he makes the same mistakes as last time. He moves away without a right blind spot check, but then decides not to reverse on this van, but move up to the next vehicle, which is just fine. He then doesn't perform effective observation for the reverse, neglecting the right blind spot. He then comes in a bit too tight and is forced to correct. And then on the correction, again does no observation. He then finishes the manoeuvre up close to the vehicle in front, forcing him to reverse before he can move away.
Okay, that's great. All right, drive on when you're ready.
And then when he goes to reverse, he again doesn't do effective observation. And then no right blind spot to move away. As we come up to the next junction, he makes an interesting statement.
And then at the end of the road here, turn left.
You must get sick of giving people directions all day, every day.
It's what you want to do for a living. Are you reconsidering?
No.
And then again at this double mini roundabout, so the first roundabout turn left, second roundabout turn right.
It is all part of the job. His mirrors on the approach to these roundabouts are again a little bit haphazard, but he deals with his junctions, both of them, well.
And they are in quick succession.
We're now just one junction away, so that's the end of the test.
Okay, all right, that's it. We're a bit under time actually, but that'll do for now. That will do.
How badly have I done?
How badly have you done? So that's the first question, is it? How badly did I do?
I know I've done a couple of boo-boos.
A couple of boo-boos? Okay, I like that. Boo-boos. What boo-boos did you think you did? Just using the same language.
Failed to indicate when I pulled out from the side of the road. I know that. Cut up a guy a bit. Got a bit pulled in a little bit close in front of him. It's those little things that add up, isn't it?
They do. Look, I'm going to speak to them for just a second here. When you come and sit one of these tests, specifically like a Part 2 test, and you've done no training whatsoever, you're bound to be, it doesn't matter how good a driver you are, you can be a good driver. And actually talking to you, actually, you're a good driver. I can see you're a good driver.
Thank you.
It's certainly not a problem regarding your ability to drive. You just make lots of silly little mistakes that you haven't had any chance to really rectify. What I've just seen there is a competent driver, someone who can drive and who I feel quite comfortable in their car, yes, who's just a very rough diamond. Who just, like, I would expect to see that on a first session. So what normally happens is when you take somebody for their very first session or something, what I would do is I don't go to serious faults. If I see something twice, I just circle it, I'm going to look at it. Yes? And that's just part of my training. So I don't tend to like beat down people who have not done any training. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I find myself sitting in these mocks with some of you who have not done any training. And I kind of almost stop marking because it starts to become, it's happening too often, right? Obviously, for your benefit, you've come this way, you want to know how that was and where, right? So when I say stop marking, I stop marking the stuff that happens repeatedly. And it just goes down as a serious, obviously, yes?
Yeah.
So you can drive. Is this something that you could easily polish up? Yes. Because there's nothing majorly, glaringly terrible in there. There's a little bit of awareness and planning.
It doesn't help that I don't know this area at all. You know, if we'd done this in Sheffield, I'm sure I would have been a lot better at that. But
well, okay. So, do you know the difference between consciously and unconsciously skilled? I'm just using word. I mean, you can piece those two things together: consciously and unconsciously skilled. Have you got an idea what that means?
I mean, I'm unconsciously skilled at driving, but I am consciously unskilled because I need to improve the driving, not just to pass my test, but to set a good example and lead by example for my students. So I'm aware that I'm going to have faults. As I said to you before we even undertook this, I fully expect to fail.
Yeah.
Because yes, I can drive, but I don't yet have all the techniques that I need to be able to teach students.
Yeah, and just a couple of little bad habits. Again, even the stuff that you've done that's not right, at no point were we in danger. Yeah, so it's one of those, and it's driving to a high standard. So we talk about consciously and unconsciously. Yes, we tend to drive unconsciously skilled. You can't drive any of this unconsciously skilled, no matter how good you are. I can't do a part 2. I wouldn't even do a driving test unconsciously skilled. The likelihood that I'm going to make mistakes is just way too high. Certainly when it comes to awareness and planning. So some of the stuff with awareness and planning that we talk about, like on the dual carriageway, where there was a lorry and then you had to move across. There was a car there. We're moving across into their lane. They're right there.
Yeah.
That's not really what we should be doing.
Yeah.
If you were planning that ahead of time and you see that guy in the lorry and he's getting out and he's on the road, what could our speed be doing? If your awareness was that that vehicle was there, what definitely would the speed have been doing instead of maintaining and then pushing out and then coming back in again? So it's just things like that.
Yeah.
Which is where, like, how far up the road are we looking? How far up the road are we thinking? Is really the thing. If I talk about your basics, there's lots of errors within your basics, okay? And again, I would expect it. So for example, moving away from the side of the road.
Nobody to indicate this occasion.
Not checking that right blind spot properly, you're going to get a serious fault for that. There's nobody there. Yes, but it's just that checking of that blind spot as we're moving away from the side of the road. And if that repeatedly happens, that's going to escalate to a serious fault. Right at the beginning, when we went to move away, you moved away really quickly, did all your checks around the car. It was beautiful, yes, apart from them in front of you. And if you'd have looked in front of you, you'd have seen that your view was quite poor. And maybe if you'd have seen that the view was quite poor, so even though that car suddenly came out of, I don't want to say it didn't come out of nowhere, because it was still kind of visible. Yeah, it would have been more visible to you than to me, being that you're sitting on that side of the car. But if you'd have really assessed that front, would you have moved off as quickly as that?
No.
And then you had to stop. And then the vehicle came through. Then you moved off again, no fault of your own, another car's come in. You've stopped. You've chosen to take control of that situation, and I thought that was quite nice. But you stick it in reverse and reverse. There's no blind spot checks.
Yeah, it's a busy little road. This gives me on back.
Now it's an extra reverse. It's not, you've not been told to do that reverse. There's 2 reversing manoeuvres on a part 2. But if you have to reverse, you must demonstrate observations around the car. You did it really efficiently, effectively, as I would expect an experienced driver to do. And again, there was nobody there. But lack of observation on that reverse there, that would be, for me, that's enough.
Yeah, well, I know that's one of the bad habits that I have, or one of the good habits I've fallen out of that I am aware of, and I am consciously trying to work on.
Yeah. No, and it comes from it being pointed out by somebody else.
Exactly. You know,
oh my God! Somebody's parasol has just been flying through the air. There's a lot of wind here. I thought it was coming over here. It was a bit of a Mary Poppins thing without someone holding onto it, but it's massive, and she was just flying through the air. Sorry, that was a bit dramatic, wasn't it? Okay, so things like your basics. And it's repeatedly happening. Mirrors for signal. I hate giving faults for mirrors for signal. I absolutely, it's on here as mirrors for signal. I hate doing it because what I look at more is the awareness of the driver as well as the mirrors for signal. However, it's written mirrors for signal, yes? So if we think about what that means, mirrors for signal, if I'm going to signal, what am I about to do with my positioning and speed? So really what it means is I'm checking mirrors before I change positioning and speed, even though there is one for changing position as well, or change of direction on the marking sheet. Yeah. If you're going around something and then coming back again. Your mirror work needs work, yes? Yeah. And it's very possible and plausible that an examiner would just give you a tottering up for mirror faults. But again, it's one of those things, I see something happen twice, We're just working on it. We're fixing it, yes, rather than going to a part 2 mock. This is the thing about coming to this without any training. So your mirrors definitely need to be improved in all areas, yes? For signal, for change of direction, even when you have gone to change direction, when you pulled out, there was a car just there. You do it very, very quickly. It's almost the same time, like mirrors and then signal and then move, like mirror, signal, move.
Well, yeah, that's one thing that I've noticed is that I tend to signal without checking, because my theory or frame of mind being, well, I'm going to turn left and I'm going to indicate left. Obviously, I'm not going to pull in front of anybody, but I'll indicate and then check mirrors before.
Again, see, look, this is what I.
That's what I. That's how I'm seeing it in my mind. But
so again, I go back to what I said right at the beginning. At no point did I feel unsafe in your car today. Yeah, so you've not done anything that's like crazily dangerous, okay? It's what it is it's you're just behind the curve. If you're driving to a high standard and you're really using awareness and planning, how much further ahead are we of what we're about to do? And how then aware are we of what's going on behind us before we take that action? And it's demonstrating that skill. So we talk about mirrors, like you do it with learner drivers, you'll take them up in like mirrors for slowdown, right? And they're slowing down as they're checking their mirrors. The timing's wrong. Yes? When can those mirrors have occurred? If they throw their gaze all the way up the road and they can see that blockage is coming, they can see they're about to change position, a nice little early mirror check at that point to see what's behind you. And then depending on what you've seen, might mean you want to do it again just before you take the movement. So if you did see a motorbike coming up behind you, as you're getting closer to that object to change position, you'd be checking it again. Where is that motorbike? So we just need to be ahead of the curve, then behind the curve. And that's really what you need to practice within your mirror work, because you've got to demonstrate that to your pupils, and then you've got to make sure they're doing that as well. Yes?
Yes. Do as I do, not as I say.
Yes. Yes, ultimately. I had to think about what you just said there for a second to see if I said that you said that the right way around. Okay, then leading to the both reversing manoeuvres. Again, everything that I've just said is the same thing in the reversing manoeuvre. So if you're moving away from the side of the road and not checking blind spots, and you did that in the reverse right at the beginning, you did the same thing when you did your parallel park and your reverse bay park. So that would again go down as a serious for not checking. The parallel park, probably the worst one, because you did it so quickly. Just boom, boom. And again, nobody was there. Yes? So it's just checking those blind spots. So where are your blind spots?
On there.
And what does a blind spot mean?
You can't see that area in the mirror. You have to look over your shoulder.
So if a little kid was walking, this is what you use, because obviously we see them as the most vulnerable. Doesn't matter, it could be anybody walking across the road in that blind spot, and then you just go to swing out. Oh, there you go, there's the guy who's come pick up his parasol. See, I told you. It flew into her garden. And then when it comes to the control element, I driver faulted you for both, because you've had to do a bit of a correction with the parallel part. They want to see it in as nice fluid action. Any correction at all is going to pick up a driver fault, which is, I always think, is a bit of a shame, but that ultimately is the way it is. And the reverse bay park, again, control. You just not quite straight. The back end was probably really, really close to the line. I'm thinking, do I want to leave my car like that? Probably not. A little bit harsh. Gave you a driver fault for that. Clearance to obstruction. So you pull right up behind cars when you're in traffic. Do you know the distance you should be, really, ideally?
Tyres and tarmac.
Yeah, tyres and tarmac. Again,
that's 45 years of rush hour driving, and you sort of.
Yeah, you don't want to give anyone space. But
what? Well, no, it's not just that. It's. I've always seen it as keeping compact, so that you're not.
What if you had to get out of there? A lot of people.
Yeah, I know. I mean, you need to be able to get out of the way of emergency vehicles, for example. Yeah. Yes.
So we talk about escape route. You've also got what if the vehicle rolled back. I mean, that's normally the first one that an instructor will say. It's like, what would happen if that car was starting to roll backwards? But yeah, escape route. What if they need to reverse back for whatever reason. It's just being courteous. It's a bit like someone standing behind somebody in a queue and you've just got someone breathing down your neck. It's not very nice. And you look in the mirror and you see it, and your learner drivers, how are they going to feel when they see vehicles doing that? So we definitely don't want to be demonstrating that. Yeah. But again, always think about your escape route. But you did it quite a few times. Use of speed. It's very difficult to read your speed in this car without really leaning all the way across. So I haven't been able to watch your speed as closely as possible. But you're definitely, I've definitely got you speeding a couple of times. And I would say probably even a few more than that. I think your use of speed is just, you're right on the line and then pushing it above. And it's quite consistent. It feels like 30, slightly above 30. So a lot of it I haven't physically seen, but my assumption is that you were slightly speeding. Okay. And then there's one where you went sort of 5 miles an hour. But so I've given you a couple of faults for that, and it possibly that in itself could have escalated to a serious because it's happening a little bit too often. Following distances as well. So there's a couple of times where you're just within that following distance. We were chatting, and we just go into sort of sleep mode. How far should we be from the vehicle in front?
Close enough to be able to stop in the distance.
Yes, that's coming from the textbook, isn't it? But how many seconds should we be from the vehicle in front in normal conditions?
2.
If it's wet, raining, I'm going to say raining, okay? Because we've got varying degrees of wet, haven't we? Like right now, has been raining a lot. Really wish the cameras had been outside now because we probably would have got a good video out of that. But unfortunately, they're not inside. But right now, that is wet, but it's not sopping wet, is it? It's not puddle wet.
It's damp, yeah.
Yeah. So 2 or more, and there's a few times we're just getting a little bit closer and we shouldn't be.
I don't want to use it as an excuse to try and dismiss anything, but it doesn't help that having woken up at 4 o'clock this morning to get there.
No. Do you know what? If I had to do what you just did, there's no way I'd drive to a really high standard coming all the way from Sheffield. It's exhausting. Coming back to what I'd said already, you're not a bad driver at all. You're a good driver. A very efficient driver. You're just doing things a little bit more as I would expect, and it's just somebody a good driver who I'd got in the car and said, drive for me, please. But this is all under the caveat that this man has come here, driven 4.5 hours all the way from Sheffield, which is a really valid point. I don't think I would pass a part 2 if I'd just driven 4.5 hours. I'd be knackered. So there's that to take into consideration. And also he's done 0 training.
Not a sausage.
Not a sausage. This has been Oliver's Part 2 mock test. I hope you get some benefit from this video. I really hope you get some benefit from this video too. If you get any benefit from the video, I'm repeating myself, if you get any value from the video, hit that like button, subscribe if you like more content, and then I will see you in the next one. And in the meantime,
watch more of his videos, they're good.
That's
what inspired me to come here.
I'll take that compliment.
So like, comment and subscribe.
Yes, hey, one more time.
Like, comment and subscribe, please. Thank you.
That's an order.
Oh yes.
That's an order. Get wheel out. Now, switching this camera off is not going to be easy, is it? I have to move that. There we go. My equipment's not quite right today. Get wheel out.